The other major Marvel movie slash show slash it's a movie that occurred was the one that had made the second biggest box office opening weekend
of any
MCU movie ever.
You're
Which
lucky
was
you're in a pandemic because it would have probably beat it.
And it did. And this was worldwide, and they have not yet released it in China.
Yeah.
So and it probably would have hit another record with China. So, what the movie we're talking about is Spider-Man.
Spoiler movie.
Spider-Man No Way Home, the third and final trilogy movie of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, because he gets murdered.
It's pretty actually vicious.
Yeah, Hulk shows up, rips his arm off.
Yeah, and then uses his arm, kind of like the Juggernaut scene in Deadpool 2, and shoves it up his tush.
Yeah.
And then Doctor Strange just... whatever that is.
Yeah, that's the slong wrong.
Oh. The schlong.
The schlong wrong. The schlong ring. Okay. But anyway, No Way Home happened. I'll let you take it from the. I want to hear your reaction first because I'm not saying anything by this. I do think Joe liked it more than I did. Anyway, I'll leave you with that.
So we got to go to the Rotten Tomato score because you always got to trust Rotten Tomato scores.
Mm-hmm.
I
don't.
94% critic.
Yep.
And 99% audience.
Yep. And at the moment we saw it was at 95% critic.
Yeah. But still 99% audience.
Yeah.
What
do you know? A movie all about fanfare and like pleasing the fans has a good fan score.
No, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. There's all the references and callbacks and just the little nuances of like what everyone says throughout the movie made me like nerdgasm over and over. Just all the little things that they put in there was everything like I wanted and like didn't expect, but like love that it was in there.
Sure. So. Nice. I thought it was very, very good. I thought 99. So I'd be giving it like a 9.9 out of 10.
Would we give it the most G? We didn't do a
spoiler-free review,
so I bet it on the weekend. Yeah, I bet it was gonna have the highest GGs out of.
That I probably would. It would probably end up being like a 9.5, which I think is what Shang-Chi ended around for us.
Okay.
Just because. So. I can be a little cynical sometimes. I will be honest. I have a very rational brain. And I just, sometimes I have a hard time stepping away and just enjoying things for what they are. And with Disney specifically, the live action remake movies, you're putting zero effort basically into a movie storyline. You're just spitting out the same content and making even more money than you made originally, and being able to re-put out that merchandise and remake some more money. So when I watched No Way Home, awesome, amazing. I loved everything about it. I loved the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming in, and I thought that it reminded me why Andrew Garfield is my favorite Spider-Man, but why Tom Holland is the world's favorite and why he might be the best. But in my mind, it reinstilled to me, like, yeah, Andrew's my favorite, but I think Tom is the right person for the job. So that not only did do that, but after the movie was over, I kind of sat with it and was just like, they just gave us, like, look at all the things we've done in the past. We're going to make you pay for your nostalgia, and then you're going to spit out more of the same content that we had, brought to you in a different way. So there's the famous script, or the pitch meetings on Screen Rant.
Right.
The first thing he talks about outside of, by the way, you have to watch 5 other Spider-Man movies before this one means anything to you. Like,
you technically have to watch 7, but...
Exactly. So you do, like, that. Yes, obviously that's a negative. I think that's most Marvel movies, which is the downfall of most Marvel content, is you have to watch the other ones first. So I didn't hold that against it. But then the second thing they mention in that is that you're paying for nostalgia, and we're going to make so much money off of your brain. And you just said, every reference they made, you nerdgasmed every time.
Yeah.
That's all. So after it was done, I stepped away and I was like, I was upset at that. because cynical brain. If you take that away, it's a 10 out of 10 movie in my opinion. So the movie itself, when brought to it without being cynical and being pissy like I'm being about capitalism, whatever you want, it's an amazing movie. So I do want to say it's probably the best Marvel movie that's ever come out, especially from somebody like me who I think Endgame is criminally overrated. I just don't.
Oh, I thought Infinity War is 10 times better.
I think Infinity War is better. I think Black Panther is better. I think Shang-Chi is better than Endgame. I just there are some movies that aren't viewed as highly as Endgame that I think are with it. I think Infinity War, I would have loved to see them not do time travel and that sort of thing to try to. I think Thanos could have had some sort of victory, but instead it's just Infinity War. It's one of those Endgame with Infinity War. Endgame made it so Infinity War basically didn't happen. And I don't like those sorts of movies. Like Wreck-It Ralph 2 makes Wreck-It Ralph 1 never happen. I just don't like that sort of thing. But yeah, overall, I loved Spider-Man. You're paying for nostalgia, but overall, the references were amazing. The Easter eggs, the callbacks, all of it. My favorite part was trying to see all the different silhouettes in the sky at the end of the movie as the world was breaking.
Right, you got Rhino, everyone thinks Kraven, Scorpion.
We saw Scorpion 100%, and we saw Rhino 100%.
Which is weird
because they were brought to you front and center.
Yeah, but Scorpion's like in our world too, so.
I cried twice. I
got emotional. Yeah,
I got very teared up at one point, and then a tear fell at another point.
I'm pretty good at holding my emotions back.
I'm an emotional guy.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at holding my emotions back. But when Peter was talking to MJ or whatever, I was like, Taylor heard it too. I was like, like you know what I mean? Like it hits you, and then you're like, oh god, I haven't breathed in.
For me, it was Tom Holland again. So in Infinity War, when Tom Holland gets blipped and he's Stark, I don't want to go. I don't want to go with Stark. And that was completely ad-libbed.
Yeah, because they told him act like you don't want to go.
And that's what he did.
And he's like, okay.
And
I don't want to go.
And Robert Downey Jr. said that was amazing after the take was done. Yeah. He was like, nice job, kid. But yeah, so anyway, that scene, because of Tom Holland in theaters, I was like...
Yeah.
And then, Aunt May dies, which I knew immediately. I was talking to the guy who sat next to me. Hi, Mike. He thought that when Green Goblin flew through and they smacked the bomb away, he thought that was going to send the glider bomb to kill Happy, and he thought Happy was going to die outside. And I said, as soon as I saw the glider hit May, I was like, oh, she's dead. Yeah. And I was surprised when she got up and they were talking. I was like,
yeah, but she was holding the I
was like, she's going to die, right? Like, so when she got hit by the glider, I immediately was like, she's dead. But come on, wake up. Just, come on. Like, when he was like, don't do this to me, wake up. I know you're here. Like, it was just very genuine. You could hear the denial right away in his tone there. That's when I was like,
it's onions in here.
Fine. Yeah. And then the other part that got me sad was the reason I got so sad was closer to the end of the movie.
There's a couple. It was throughout like a lot of it.
Yeah.
Too.
I thought the references were interesting. I never trusted Green Goblin from the beginning.
Yeah.
I was like, no. And then his spider sense, when it kicked in, was very cool.
Yeah.
I liked that a lot. They talk about him getting bitten by the spider, which they hadn't referenced before. I really like Tobey and Andrew's role as Spider-Man. They weren't just references or callbacks. As soon as they open that sling ring, they're like, Peter! And he turns around, I was like, which one? Is that Tobey or is that Andrew? It wasn't, is that Tom? It was, which one is it? Is that Tobey or Andrew?
You could hear the audience, too. Because, okay, first of all, right in the beginning with the Matt Murdock thing, like we saw, you see the little the walking stick thing, and then he sits down or whatever, and then some guy in the I think it was our back right was like, awesome.
Yeah.
Like he was like, awesome.
I also said that too.
Yeah.
I also went sick.
I was like this. I was like,
yeah. I was very excited when I saw Matt Murdock in the beginning. I was like, nice,
it's Charlie Cox. He's got his little red glasses on, his hair slicked back.
I did make one prediction that we made way back, months ago. I predicted this would happen if Andrew Garfield did show up. I said that at one point, MJ is going to be falling. Tom's not going to be able to get to her, and Andrew's going to be the one to save her to get redemption. And that exact thing happened. Tom jumps, gets hit by Lizard, And,
It was
or
a
Electro,
goblin glider.
okay,
Yeah.
Goblin, and then Andrew
Andrew's like,
jumps
"No!"
down and catches her,
Yeah.
saves her. That was it. That was when I teared up.
because he was like, he's like, I'm not letting this.
That was
happen again." Yeah.
when the tear actually fell. Is he looked at MJ, and
He's emotional,
He
too.
was very well, and he cries 3 times in the movie, and I was like, this is why you're the best.
Yeah.
Like
Oh.
I love Andrew Garfield so much. He has a new movie on Netflix. Check it out. He was as he was holding her, he asked if she was okay, and then she asked if he was okay, and that was when
he's like,
that was when I was like,
Yeah.
no.
yeah, redemption for
Like
Gwen.
I can feel the tears now. Like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. All the comments with Andrew Garfield, I laughed every
A
time.
lot,
too.
yeah. I know he was hilarious first of all, and also his comments with Toby and his comments with Andrew. It's like, oh, I never did that. Oh, I never got that. Oh, I never did that.
Right.
So like it's like, oh yeah, like
When Toby calls him amazing, you're amazing. First of
Yeah.
all, he's the amazing Spider-Man,
Yeah.
but he's like, you're amazing. Thanks. I really needed to hear that.
Yeah.
But the part I laughed at the hardest was when he's fighting Electro, and he's like trying to talk to Max, trying to like tell him we're trying to help him, and then Max is like, you're not top dog anymore, and he's like, ugh, and drops his head. That was the part I laughed at the hardest, because it's like, okay, that's another reference to him not
Right.
being Spider-Man anymore. That part was the funniest part in the movie to me. It was
yeah. No,
I laughed, and then Mike next to me was like,
yeah. No, I thought it was everything was funny. Andrew, when they first meet Tom, like with Andrew Garfield and Toby, first meet Tom, and they're like, whatever, they're talking about like Aunt May said this, and then that's what happened when Uncle Ben died or whatever.
yeah.
And then
With great power comes great responsibility.
I know that, and he's like, that's the same thing that happened
The day
when
he
Uncle Ben
died.
Yeah, I think Ben died. So they're talking about like. Toby's like, oh, I've got my MJ back home, and then Tom's like, I got my MJ here, and then Andrew's like, I had someone or whatever, and then Toby's like,
She was my MJ.
yeah, keep looking, like you'll find your person. So that makes me believe like
That
okay,
he'll have a Mary Jane.
yeah, he needs to keep looking. Oh, I never got to fight an alien or whatever. Like you guys both got to fight aliens, right? Like
And
Toby,
that'll be him fighting Venom.
Tom Hardy's Venom, yeah, or Morbius or whatever. So, I hope everyone wants all the fans. As soon as that was over, it was like Andrew stole the show when he was in there, and like,
Which there was a tweet that said, if you want the Amazing Spider-Man 3, you should have shown up for Amazing Spider-Man 2. I fully agree. Like, if you really loved Andrew Garfield back then, you should have shown it. Like, now it's like, oh, now you want it. But yeah, I would.
Sony wants to do their Sonyverse, and
Andrew
Marvel
wants
doesn't
to be
really
back.
want to do it. So yeah.
Yeah.
And you could even do like he even said himself, like I started to pull my punches, which like if Spider-Man wanted to, he could kill people.
Also, the scene where Andrew first shows up, just walk around the ceiling or stick to something. Well, I'm not gonna stick to something. And he like grabs the ceiling and sticks.
Well, that can be
crawl around. I'm not gonna crawl around. She throws bread at him. Please stop throwing bread at me. Well, I was seeing if you had the tingly thing. I have the tingly thing, just not for bread. It was so good.
Yeah, no, it's funny. They did the multiple times, which I thought was funny. Yeah.
I didn't catch that though.
Yeah, they were in the lab, and then they were talking about who's Peter 1 and who's Peter 2.
Oh, that, yeah.
And they're like,
Yeah.
and then when Tom's like, not to brag, but part of the Avengers, and Toby's like, the Avengers?
What is that?
Awesome! What is that? Like, what? You don't have the Avengers? But Doctor Strange exists in Toby's world.
Right, he just isn't Doctor Strange.
Yeah, or something like that, because they're like, what do we call this new guy? And it's like Doctor Strange, and J. Jonah is like, good, but taken. So, I don't know.
I do think that, so there was that in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, there was that
Yeah, they're looking through a bunch of
like a database.
They're looking through like a database, and then it's like, oh, it scrolls down and it says Dr. Connors info, right? Dr. Connors is obviously Lizard, and then right below it, it's like half cut off. It says Dr. Morbius, like a file on Dr. Morbius.
Right.
So
there's a chance
I
that
think the Sonyverse is in Andrew's world,
and it was leaked that Sony is planning on making multiple spin-off movies with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
Yeah. So and also the Oscorp building in the Morbius trailer is the same one in Amazing Spider-Man 2 and 1.
Yeah. So
Also.
and I think we're gonna be seeing a lot more Andrew Garfield. We're gonna be seeing more Tom Holland. Yeah. Overall, it was a super good movie. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm surprised because most people have seen it.
I just think it's also pretty spectacular that like they've done like what 8 Super Spider-Man movies now, and we still don't know what's like Spider-Man's identity.
So it worked on you two then.
What did?
Yeah, but I thought so. The trapping it in the box, that spell, I think that was a little bit too convenient, in my opinion. I feel like the Doctor Strange, Tom Holland thing, the Doctor Strange and Spider-Man thing. I don't know the guy's name, but they were trying to make
Stephen Strange.
Yeah.
That's Doctor Strange.
I feel like he could have adjusted the spell, or like he seemed to be able to stop it.
Well, here's the thing. So when Spider-Man was tampering with the spell, he was like, "Oh, MJ, Ned, Aunt May, Happy."
Basically everybody that knew before.
Yeah, but another thing that if you pay attention to it, Doctor Strange adds another one, and I think that's for himself.
Agreed. Yep.
So that's a thing too.
Sure. But I do think it was a little bit convenient. There were some plot holes like that.
Like how Doctor Strange couldn't get out of the mirror dimension fast enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I agree. He was trapped in the mirror dimension for 12 hours, and he needed Ned to open the ring for him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, open the portal to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there were some things I didn't like, and then like that. He does end up making the decision to make everybody forget. When they walk into the diner, I 100% thought Ned and MJ were gonna kiss.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be they were gonna be like together.
And they had made the reference, like a subtle reference to all Toby and Andrew's best friends turned on him,
right?
And he made a promise he never would, but now he doesn't know who Spider-Man is.
Right.
I don't know who.
No one does.
So now he doesn't know who Spider-Man is, and then he makes the new suit, which is amazing looking.
Yeah, it's the most comic accurate suit.
It's bright blue, bright red. It's perfect.
He's out of,
which is what I've been asking for.
He's not Iron Man Jr., Iron Boy Jr.
For those that have seen other episodes, the one thing I said is I wish all the costumes started looking more like the comic book costume. So when that happened, that was amazing. But yeah, I thought Ned and MJ were gonna kiss, and I was because Peter never existed, and I was like, but that didn't happen. And then they have MJ and him have a moment. It's like, oh, okay. So eventually they're gonna get back together.
Ned could take his hobgoblin.
Ned could now become a villain.
Yeah. Because he doesn't know who Peter Parker is. He can obviously do magic a little bit, so Hobgoblin. Jacob Batalon lost 112 pounds from when he first started
by going vegan.
Yeah, he's probably in shape to play Hobgoblin.
And he made a comment about how he doesn't feel like he slimmed down a ton, but they told him he needs to make sure he keeps the not a leading man look. I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
When he said that, I was like, you're telling us that because it makes you unhappy, because I did not like that. They apparently told him he needs to keep the not a leading man look. Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
Well, I think he can. I think he should just. He can keep cutting weight. He can play Hobgoblin regardless. So.
I agree.
So
just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about the movie. The people forgetting Peter, I think it was necessary. The last thing is Venom.
Yeah. Okay. So
the credit scene, there was which we'll talk about the second credit scene as its own kind of separate thing. But the first credit scene was Venom.
Yeah. So a lot of people are like, why did Tom Hardy why did Eddie Brock from the Venomverse
universes?
Yeah, because he's never met Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The theory going around, and what I believe, is when Venom is explaining to Eddie while they're laying on the bed, he's like, I can show you this and show you from the hive,
my world.
And then he says it's like the hive mind spreads across multiple universes, blah blah blah. And so you can relate the fact that when Tobey Maguire fought Eddie Brock and Venom in Spider-Man 3, that that Venom retained that knowledge that this person, or Eddie Brock, figured out that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, and so they know that Spider-Man exists. So they know that Spider-Man is Peter Parker.
Yeah, and the Topher Grace version is also Eddie Brock, so
Right.
that's the multiverse version of Venom that knows.
Right. So whether Venom didn't, our Venom and the MCU Sonyverse Venom, doesn't look back into his knowledge compartment and sees that he knows Spider-Man. It's just subconsciously it's back there
In the hive mind.
in the hive mind, and that's why he got transferred over, and that's why Venom can exist in this universe, and that's why Venom stayed, is because it still knows Peter
Yeah,
Parker.
because when Tom Hardy and Venom go back to their own universe, a portion of Venom stays on the counter.
Right. So we could get Agent Venom. It could find Eddie Brock. It could find Tom Holland. All those things could happen.
I hope it gets to Tom Holland. And you mentioned you don't want it to go to Flash
Yeah.
to become like anti-Venom.
Yeah.
I would love if it be, because my one thing is I've wanted our Venom, the MCU Venom. Not really.
Not really.
But I wanted Tom Hardy's Venom to eventually take over Spider-Man to get the spider powers.
And I still think, because he forgot who Peter. Well, probably didn't forget who Peter Parker. I don't know what happened with those people that got transferred back, because they all know who Peter Parker is still from their universes.
They all technically should forget too,
Yeah.
and
I don't know.
they should all only think it's Spider-Man as opposed to Peter Parker.
Sure. So, but when he goes back,
And
he
Green
was
Goblin's cured now, so it doesn't matter that he knows.
Yeah, but he's gonna go back, and his son might be dead.
Right. And he's not going to know who killed him. He'll
Yeah.
think it's Spider-Man, not Peter Parker.
Yeah. Well, he'd have to look it up. I don't know.
But he doesn't have Green Goblin in him anymore.
Yeah. So Tom Hardy is going to go back, and he's going to be like, I was going to go to New York anyway to see if Spider-Man was there. So we could still go to New York, see if Spider-Man's there, and it's Andrew Garfield's
Sure.
one.
Which is what I think. I think they'll move forward with Andrew Garfield in Morbius and Venom 3.
Yeah, like the Sonyverse.
Yeah,
thing.
I think
And he's
Andrew
gonna
Garfield
need,
will be the Sonyverse
and they're
Spider-Man.
gonna. So I think they also could do the Maximum Carnage storyline, with Toxin instead.
Sure. Yeah, so I think that's what they're moving forward in the future.